Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I have another DIY catch can video for you guys today. It is from AddW1, so they're our sponsor for today's video. And today we're going to be doing this on our 2007 G35 with the VQ35HR motor. First things first, we need to remove the engine cover, which is fastened down by 5 10mm bolts. Once we get those off, the engine cover should pop up and move it out of the way. Alright, so in this next step, we're actually going to remove the oil collectors and the PCV hoses from the intake manifold. So by doing that, we're going to remove this hose right here, this collector, and this hose that goes to that collector, and as well as the PCV hose on the back of the manifold. But I'll walk you guys step by step. Alright, so we're going to begin on this side. Let's go ahead and take off this side first. Just my clamp here. Alright, that's off. There it goes, that's removed. That's never been removed, you can definitely tell. Alright. This one might take a little bit more wiggling out to do. I'm actually going to remove it from the PCV. Yeah, that might take a little bit more wiggling out to do. Alright, let's go ahead and do this side now. Oops. There we go. This piece has never been moved before. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and remove this oil collector now. There's a 10mm screw on top of the manifold. Alrighty, so the clamp on mine here is a little bit on the wrong direction, so just twist it around so that I can loosen this up and pull the collector out. There we go. Surprise, surprise, this is a 12-year-old car. I did not expect, 13-year-old car actually. I didn't expect to find this, but it's probably a good thing that we're doing the catch can today. So this is going to be tossed out today. All right, so we're bouncing between both sides here. Just went ahead and pulled the PCV connection here in the valve cover, and now I'm going to pull this from the collector on the passenger side, or driver's side, sorry. There it is. All right, now that the PCV hose is actually out, I have an issue with this clamp on this side of the intake, so I'm actually just going to force this collector out. It seems like it's wiggling out anyways. There we go. All right, next up we got to remove the hose on the passenger side valve cover, which is the PCV hose that goes all the way to the back of the intake manifold. There is a very hard clamp to get to, but like the other ones, they are pretty much stuck and facing the wrong direction. So I can see if I can pull this up. Just be careful, there's a fuel line here in the way. You don't want to damage any of that. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this off, and as well as on the back of the intake manifold. There we go. That is a hose that came off of the PCV on the passenger side valve cover. And I'm going to trace it all the way back to remove it from the back of the intake manifold. Alright, so space is kind of constricted back here, but this is the hose we just took off. And we can trace it all the way to the back of the manifold, and it's going to end up in that hose that I'm actually have the light on right now. This is the vacuum line, but the one you want is right below. And it's only got one clamp, and that's all I got to do, take it off. Alright, so I got the hose on the hook from both ends, but I'm actually having to remove one of the sleeves on the hose and then pull it out the opposite direction because it's really snug and tight in there, and I won't have enough space to wiggle it out of the way otherwise. So I'm going to try to swiggle it out to the back. Alright, so we got the hose from the back of the manifold taken off. Just to quickly recap what we've taken off so far: the oil collectors on this side and this side, and as well as the hoses that combines them two together, and the one going from the PVC side of this side of the valve cover to the back of the manifold. Next up, we have the bracket that holds both catch cans together, and we can use the OEM hardware to actually fasten it down into the engine bay. And I'm going to show you guys the two bolts that you're going to have to undo in order to get this done. In order to install the bracket, you're going to have to remove this 10mm bolt right there, and that one that sits right below. In order to fasten the bracket down at the bottom, and also on the side. All right, so I'm loosening up the 10mm bolt that goes below, and I am removing it now. We will reuse this hardware to fasten down the bracket, and there it is. So it's gonna go right back in. I'm just gonna flip the bracket. The ADW1 logo faces the front of the vehicle. And go ahead and start threading it back in. All right, so the bracket is all fastened in, really tight, nothing's moving. I'm gonna go ahead and prepare the catch cans for installation, and then we can begin routing our hoses back up into the engine. All right guys, as usual, we're getting ready to set up our catch can, which I always do so after installing the bracket. So I always advise that when you put the connections on the catch can itself, use the O-rings provided and do not over tighten them. You can tighten these down with the 19mm open wrench. Just be careful not to overdo it, as I mentioned. Be very gentle. Once you start getting quite a bit of resistance, stop. Don't overdo it. Right there is good. Usually when I hand tighten them, it takes about 2 turns with the wrench to get it all tightened where I'm pleased with it. So right about there is 2 turns. Yep, we're good. I'm gonna repeat the same process on the other catch can and begin putting them on the bracket. All right, so we're gonna begin installing our catch cans here on our bracket. I have an Allen wrench here, and I'm gonna remove the first 2 next to the dipstick on this catch can that's going on the left-hand side. All right, first catch can going in. All right. 1 catch can is installed, and on this catch can that goes on the other side, we actually used 2 holes opposite from the dipstick. So make sure you use the last 2 on this catch can that goes on the right side. All right, let's begin installing our catch cans. Now that we've installed them on the bracket, for reference, here's what screws I use to fasten down the catch can to the bracket. The first 2 next to the dipstick on the left one, and on the ones 2 across from the dipstick on the second one. So I'm going to start with this catch can, which is the easiest one to route. You can route a hose from the inlet into the PCV system, and you're going to route the outlet to the back of the manifold. All right, now that we have routed our first catch can, I'm going to go over it. So the inlet side of the catch can, which is the right side, we routed directly into the PCV right down there and put a clamp on there. And the outlet side is going to go back to the manifold from the clamp that we removed in the previous step, or from the hose we removed in the previous step. So we're going to follow all the way through, put it underneath the throttle body, follow it back up here in the back of the manifold into the connection we removed in previous steps, and there's just a clamp provided in the kit there. So that side is done. Now all we have left to do is route this one up per the instructions, and we should be pretty close to getting done here. Now there's going to be a T connection here to route to connect this side intake inlet and this side intake inlet. So a pro tip for you guys, in order to get this smaller diameter hose that comes with the kit onto the fitting, what I used is a little bit of heat from a heat gun to warm up the rubber, and then I used a little bit of silicone on the fitting itself to be able to slide it in there no problem. You can use a wider diameter hose, but this is the one that came with the kit, and I had no problem using it, so just a little bit of heat should get it in there just fine. Should make your life a little bit easier. Alrighty, so now we started the routing of the second catch can, and just like I mentioned with that fitting that we're going to use one side that goes into the hose and one side that goes into the intake there. Use 2 clamps to make sure it's buttoned down. Put this hose here under the intake, that way you can hide it. You can still put your engine cover back on, hide everything neatly. You have your T-fitting that goes in the middle. One goes up to the other intake, the other one's going to come here into the catch can, and we'll finish it off with the last connection. But so far so good, everything's fitting well. This is fitting to the point where we can still keep our engine cover and hide everything underneath the engine cover. So I'm going to connect this connection here to the outlet side of the catch can, and then we're going to connect the last fitting or the last hose from the catch can all the way into that connection right there on the car. So we're almost done, pretty much ready to wrap her up here. I'm glad we used this size hose, or that it comes with the kit. Actually, it seems like everything's going to fit nicely under the engine cover, make it still look stock. The only thing you're really going to see is a couple of hoses coming in and the catch can themselves with the nice ADW1 bracket. All right, next up we're going to use this stubby connection here that's going to go on this side of the manifold there, and we're going to connect the hose from the catch can to this connection as well, and that'll be our last connection from the inlet side of the catch can all the way to this fitting that's going to go right on this side. All right, everybody, the installation is just about complete. We just have to check the engine bay clearance there, or the engine cover clearance, sorry. So the last connection that we hooked up to the inlet side of the catch can goes to that fitting that we just talked about in the previous step. And yeah, that's the routing of pretty much the entire system. It's not too overly complicated. We can go over the routing again. The catch can closer to the passenger side intake. One side goes into the PCV, the other side goes into the back of the manifold. And on this second catch can, one goes into a T connection that splits off into both intakes there, intake tubes, and the last connection goes right into the hose that would used to be on this side of the manifold. This is like an L-shaped fitting. It'll come with the kit as well. And yeah, overall pretty easy to install the entire kit. I'm pretty pleased with the quality of the product as always. At W1, thank you very much for making the video possible, providing all the hardware so I can show you guys this DIY. So let's put the engine cover back on and see how well everything looks put together. Alrighty, and we have completed the installation. Engine cover's back on just to show you guys that it does fit without any cutting or anything like that. It fits just like normal. I did only have to move this hose slightly out of the way in order to make sure it cleared that gap right there. But as you can see, you can only see the catch cans and the hoses that did disappear into the engine bay. So I just noticed I lost my Infiniti emblem, but installation is complete. I try to make it as clean as possible. Hoses coming from here and on the other side there. So overall, I'm pretty pleased with the quality of W1. I've used them over the last few months on both my cars, and I've had great success with them, so I have nothing great things to say. Link is going to be in the description. Product and their websites, the link is going to be in the description, so feel free to check those out at W1. Thank you so much for providing the hardware to make this video possible and give you guys this DIY today. All right, and we have reached the end of the video today. I hope you guys have enjoyed it and this video was helpful to you. So as always, like, share, subscribe, and if you guys have any questions regarding this product or this installation, feel free to comment below, message me on Instagram. I'll be happy to help. But until then, see you guys in the next one.